James Lowe, long ball to Bandiaki. Dummy steps, Bandiaki! Aki's in!
Hi, everybody, and welcome to SA Rugby Magazine. I am Kevin Ferguson, and I've got the legendary, I'm going to use that legendary word, I love it, a legendary Scott Gibbs with me, who's in a car again. You know, a lot of questions about you and your car, Scotty.
No, I'm just, these, I like
You're on the
that.
go.
I'm up early. I need to get my hike in. I got to get some groceries this morning. So I'm en route, as they say.
Okay. And
Yeah.
cold there. Looks a bit chilly with what you're wearing.
Yeah, well, you know what? I'm looking at the thermometer. It's relatively mild. It's 12 degrees. So it's perfect autumnal weather this weekend for some rugby.
Yeah.
But there's still a little bit of a nip in the air. So I dare say that both Dublin and Edinburgh, there might be a couple of degrees cooler this weekend.
Yeah, well, tonight the weather in Dublin, which is a game we're going to talk about first on this show, is mild, but 11 kilometer an hour winds, which is nothing in Dublin, as you know, and very little chance of rain. So it sets itself up for what could be an interesting rugby game. Certainly will be brutal, I think. Let me start with, how much do you think the win against England, which I have to say that the All Blacks were incredibly fortuitous in achieving, how much do you think that would have taken out of them for this game, and with the likes of a Beauden Barrett not playing and a Cody Taylor? So I wouldn't say this is the All Blacks A team, but I would definitely say this is Ireland's A team. So how much will that affect them? And secondly, how much will the World Cup revenge motif play into this one?
Too many questions, Kev. Too many questions. How do we unpick this? Well, listen, let's reverse it back to last Saturday. I think for the general public, even if you were not a rugby aficionado, that was not a stellar All Black performance. And you could argue that despite the greatness of Beauden Barrett, and there is no doubt that he is one of the best players that we've ever seen, he looked like a rookie at number 10 last weekend and played like a rookie. It just felt for, 60 minutes of that game that he forgot how to play fly half. And it was just, it was the late replacement and Mackenzie coming on and linking with his fellow players that really resurrected that kind of late game surge for them. Yes, they were fortuitous, but they took their opportunities really well. And it just further underscores how Mark Talea is kind of keeping that team afloat at the moment with his dynamic wide out running and finishing skills. So I think, yes, they will be relieved that they got a win. Boyd, that they finished strong, which is good, but they will be under no illusions that Dublin will be a different proposition. Home field advantage, as you say, favorable weather conditions, which suits the Irish more than it does, I think, the stuttering All Blacks attack game at the moment. That said, the last 10 games, they're five apiece. So, there's very little between these teams. But I do favor, when you look at the team sheet, and there's a few missing, one or two missing, in the front row for Ireland and the All Blacks, as you said, with Cody Taylor out, and I think maybe Ethan de Groot as well, that as a back five goes, two locks in a back row, it's as good as it gets when you look at that Ireland lineup.
Yeah.
Caelan Doris, Josh van der Fleer, you name it, McCarthy, James Ryan, Tagbert. It's littered.
Yeah,
with talent.
And it's in Ireland. I mean, what amazes me, Scott, is the All Blacks are, you can get 22 pounds or rand or dollars back on a $10 bet. So they're 2.2 to 1. Ireland are 4 to 9 favorites, which mean you've got to, if you want to bet 400 Rand, you'll only win 360, So
Yeah.
no, sorry. If you bet for every 90 Rand you bet, you get 40 Rand back plus your
Yeah.
bet.
Yeah.
Not much incentive to be looking at betting on an Ireland victory. And they'll be tough in Dublin. I mean, it's
Oh, well, listen, you know what you get from Dublin. This is not, I mean, you don't have to go back to this kind of vintage of Irish performances under Farrell. I mean, anytime you visited Dublin in the last 50 years, it's a tough place to go. You've got to bring your A game and you've got to be gnarly because you know you're going to be up against it. The fact is that the allure of the All Blacks is slightly tarnished at the moment because under Robertson and the players that he's unable to select, we're not seeing the best 23. That we've been deprived that, given that the fact is there's so many players overseas and not available to him. So this All Blacks team is not a great vintage. We keep harping on about it, but on their day they can get it done. That said, I think Ireland are very strong favorites. That they play with an intensity and a relentlessness and also a ruthlessness that at home they want to demonstrate to the world that they are number one in the world by putting a performance together, and I know I know that we saw in the winter, a very, very polished, accomplished side in that second test in Durban.
How do you
come back?
Sorry, go on.
Well, no, just the way that they engineered their second half performance and got into the right places, took their right chances, and and made big clutch plays. That is the hallmark of this side now, because they won't. Their DNA is that they want to go get ahead, stay ahead, and create separation on the scoreboard. The fact is that if they get put under the pump and they start slowly, and suddenly is a 14-point deficit on the scoreboard, and the All Blacks go ahead, they don't panic. They'll stick to their processes. We know the shapes that they play. We know the style, and the continuity is played with great intensity and actual and accuracy. So, from that perspective, they are the best at doing that. How do you upset this island juggernaut is another proposition. I just, as you keep saying, we don't think the All Blacks have the cattle. And the fact is, you can have a sterling Surveyor performance or a Wallace Atiti performance, but it has to be galvanized with the rest of the cast.
How do you see this one playing out, Scott? Because it's I'll give you my opinion after, but I see a comfortable Ireland win here.
No, I think so too. I think so too. And then, given the conditions and both sides' ability to create and to finish, because, both are very good at executing, in red zone plays. So, high scoring, yes. I think we'll see plenty of tries. Discipline is going to be the key. Discipline is the key. And I think that also favors Ireland because they're so well drilled in their shapes and their patterns, and their ability to create field position, which creates pressure. And the fact is that they will continue that pressure until they see the cracks, and then, they will score. So I do see that this is 12, 14 points at least for Ireland. When the fat lady sings at the end of the day, I think this is going to look. The scoreboard is going to look like a comfortable win, albeit, you got to put an 85 minutes performance in.
Can I correct you on one thing, my friend? Voluptuous lady.
Voluptuous lady, yeah. There we go. Being politically correct. And also, we keep saying, and I think this has been one of the hallmarks of international rugby over since I guess the Japan World Cup is that you do rely on your 23, and there's a few centurions coming off the bench for Ireland, so there's plenty of there's plenty of energy, and there's plenty of calm heads coming on.
Yeah.
Know how to finish games and to finish strong, and that's one of the hallmarks of this Irish side and Farrell and his team. They're just doing a phenomenal job at executing the corporate message, which is 100 miles an hour, accuracy, efficiencies.
Yeah,
And when it comes to set piece, that's where I think their dominance will be. 100% efficiently at the scrum, the line out, and also the defensive line out is going to be top notch. And their ability in the effort areas and the breakdown, I think, is far superior. So that's why I see that there's a big task ahead for the All Blacks back row to kind of nullify the momentum.
Well, I agree with pretty much everything you say, including when the fat lady sings. My belief is that the Irish and all top tier nations now have no fear of playing the All Blacks. That what we're seeing in the betting market is a bit of brand overvalue from an All Black point of view. And if this was any other team that wasn't dressed in black, you'd probably be looking at around 9.5 points favorites. Ireland are only 6.5 point favorites in this game, and I see the value there. I think Ireland are double-digit favorites, should be in my book, and whether that's the bet I have to make, because when I see some anomalies in betting, that's where I go always, whether I win or lose. I'll be happy with losing that bet, but I wouldn't be happy with trying to bet on Ireland to win 42% return on my money. So I'm going to have to take Ireland minus 6.5 for for 95% return on my money. What
Well,
do you think of that?
well, listen, I'm not. You know me, I'm not a betting guy, but even the purists today will be looking at that and can actually, maybe I just want to hedge my bets, be in Dublin, enjoy the hospitality, have a few Guinness before the game, and just put a few shekels on it. Yes, the aura of invincibility of the All Blacks is gone. Will that be ever resurrected? Who knows? But the fact is that since that first defeat in Chicago, and I was lucky to be there that day, you have seen the transformation of this Irish side, and the men in green now do not fear anybody on the rugby planet, and we've seen that this winter in Pretoria and in Durban. So there's an assurity to the Irish team at the moment that is full of confidence. They know what they're doing. And they, whoever's in front of them, they can put the best under a lot of pressure.
Yep, and especially at home, where it's got a huge advantage for Ireland.
Well, it is, and you say that the weather conditions are favorable. There's the way that the stadium is designed and engineered there's very little effect when it comes to the wind game. The ground game because of the wind. So when you look at the halfbacks and their kicking strategy, their exit strategy in every part of the field, every 30, the middle 30, they can be very dominant. And they like a quick start.
Yeah.
They like a quick start.
How much do you think last week's physical encounter with England, because it was physical, it was not a lot of things, but it certainly was physical. But
at the All Blacks in the southern hemisphere, and also the All Blacks and the Wallabies at the moment. Listen, this is their last swan song. I mean, there's a lot of tired bodies out there, so Robertson will be key in his strength and conditioning coach. They probably wouldn't have done a great deal today. It'll all be great this week. It will all be about sharpness of the mind, sharpness about the kind of plays that they've identified that can break down the Irish defense. So they'll be he will not want heavy legs because they know that, the first 20 minutes is going to be ferocious. Ireland only know one way to play in the context that they do bring a lot of intensity. There's a lot of pace, and that comes with a great deal of execution, not only from a carry-in game, but also from the defensive orientation. So they will be putting decision makers on the other side of the field under enormous pressure.
Well, that said, Scotty, I agree. My bet will be 2,000 to win back 3,900. That a green wave tsunami in Dublin wipe out the All Blacks. And by wipe out, I'm not being disrespectful. I think 10 plus points for
Oh yeah, I think 10 plus points very, very easily. I mean, there's nothing blasé about saying that at the moment. The fact is that, that Irish 23 will be very confident and capable. They could rack up 30, 35, 40 points, if it goes for them, because they know that their defense is very, very superior in that sense. And if they get some takeaways and some steals, then could be very easy going on the eye tonight in Dublin.
Well, there you have it. So, Scotty, we're in agreement on a 10 plus victory for the Irish tonight.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think, rugby terms now is that very seldom do you see a team not show up, where that looks like a little bit of hubris and they're a little bit arrogant and there's the swagger is not there. But the fact is that under Farrell, the minutia that he goes into is that the body, the mind, the calmness, the temperance, the temperament tonight will be about getting out there, imposing themselves, controlling the tempo of the game, controlling field position, putting the opposition under enormous pressure, and executing well. And in all of those key areas, Ireland have created something that most other sides can't actually accomplish. And we saw that last week with England, is that, in the driving seat for most of the game, but just didn't have enough to close it out. That's something you can't say about Ireland, because they've been in clutch moments and we put under enormous pressure, and then suddenly,
Well, I would put the England loss down to simply formulaic decisions that were made about subs, taking off their subs at the 62nd minute, and that changed the game for me. To me, it was England.
Well, it just further shows that your bench, yes, your bench is incredibly important to relieve fatigue or tired players. Your bench is incredibly important to relieve positions of decision makers. And that look at the counter argument, the counterpart on the fact that Marcus Smith was in total control, gets taken off, the new halfbacks come on and just lose it for England, and Damien McKenzie comes on and actually transfers the opportunity and converts opportunity into threatening positions and steals the win. So I think there's a massive onus on McKenzie now to control the game and to control the pace of the game and not be too loose from the outset. But if you cast your mind back to Johannesburg and the All Blacks first 20 minutes against the Springboks, where they were just imperious, that is the type of opening kind of salvo they need on tonight to see the sheer metal of what this Irish side is about. So I think it will be incredibly intense.
Oh, for sure. Well, best luck to both sides, and I do think Ireland's going to win, but good luck to both teams.